came to Japan wondering if this would be a country I could truly connect with, or if I would spend my time here feeling overwhelmed and out of place. What I didn't expect was for this experience to challenge the way I saw myself. Kyoto was the capital of Japan for more than 1,000 years, and it's still considered the heart of many of the country's traditions. Today, nearly 1.5 million people call this place home, where ancient temples and centuries-old neighborhoods exist alongside an ever-evolving modern city. I've never been much of a city person. Most of my travels have taken me towards wilder places, far removed from bustling train stations and crowded temples. And at first, I felt like I was constantly trying to keep up, trying to understand the patterns of a place where everyone else seemed to know exactly where they were going, and everything was constantly in motion. We spent our days here wandering without much of a plan, and somewhere between the ordinary moments happening all around us, I started noticing the extraordinary. Leaving Kyoto, I found myself heading toward a place that felt a little more familiar. Beneath Japan's most iconic mountain, Mount Fuji. For centuries, Fuji has been viewed as a sacred place, inspiring artists, pilgrims, and travelers drawn to its unmistakable silhouette. Visiting Fuji can be a bit of a gamble. The summit is often hidden within the clouds, but somehow our timing couldn't have been better. From the streets of Fuji Yoshida to the shores of Lake Kawaguchiko, the mountain is impossible to ignore. No matter where you are, your eyes eventually find their way back to it. But what made Fuji so memorable wasn't just the mountain. It was the way that it wove itself into life below. Wandering through these narrow streets, all framed beneath one of the world's most iconic peaks, I couldn't help but feel like Japan had a way of bringing together things that I'd always thought had to be separate. Tokyo was the place I felt the most anxiety about coming into this trip. A city of nearly 14 million people is typically the complete opposite of where I usually find myself drawn to. But almost immediately, Tokyo surprised me. Everything here is in motion. Trains gliding in every direction, currents of pedestrians ebbing and flowing from each intersection, and the colors of the city so vibrant and alive. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, I found myself feeling surprisingly inspired by a place that I expected would be too much for me. And somewhere along the way, the place I was most hesitant about became somewhere I was most excited to explore. In Japan, it's incredible how quickly the atmosphere can change. Just a short train ride away from the energy of Tokyo, you can find yourself in a quiet village by the sea. Kamakura was once the political center of Japan and is still home to some of the country's most important temples and shrines. But what I love most about here was how naturally everything seemed to coexist in the presence of the ocean. Standing on the beaches, looking out over the Pacific was a surreal feeling, knowing that my home was somewhere on the other side of these same waters made this place feel both incredibly far away and strangely familiar. One of the biggest lessons this trip gave me was the chance to question the way I see myself. For a long time, I've told myself that I'm not a city person, and I live by that definition. And while I think there's some truth to my preference for wilder places, Japan challenged some of the definitions that I had created for myself. I came here expecting the cities to feel overwhelming. I thought the crowds, the movement, and the constant energy would make me feel out of place. But instead, I found myself wanting to get lost in it. Walking through Tokyo with no destination and finding inspiration in a completely different kind of setting. So maybe growth doesn't always come from finding places that feel familiar. Sometimes it comes from realizing there's more to ourselves than we thought. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a different kind of trip for me. Not just because of traveling somewhere a bit outside my comfort zone and a bit different than the places that I usually go, but because I honestly came into this trip without the intention of making a film of any sorts. And it wasn't until I got home here and started going through the footage that I realized that there was any story here at all. The music that I found, the colors that I started shaping, and the process of putting everything together really helped me understand what this trip actually meant. And I had a lot of fun bringing this edit to life, and I wanted to take a little time to share some of the creative decisions behind this one, specifically two things that play a huge role in how I tell stories: music and color. For me, music is one of the most important parts of storytelling because it completely changes the way you experience a moment. The right song can turn a beautiful shot or sequence into something that inspires you to feel an emotion. When I started editing this film, I knew I wanted the music to capture the feeling of Japan and set the tone for the story. I really enjoy using music to move and pace my videos. It allows me to create those hills and valleys of emotion, moments of excitement, reflection, and anticipation. And it's a big reason why music is such an important part of my editing process. And that in itself is a huge reason why I use MusicBed. What I love about MusicBed is that it doesn't feel like a typical music library. Every song is curated, and the artists they work with are creating with intention. Instead of sorting through endless and cheesy royalty-free options, I'm able to discover music that already has these amazing, authentic traits behind it. My editing process usually starts with building out a rough assembly while listening through some of these playlists I've created. I'm not always looking for the exact song right away. I'm trying to understand the emotional direction of each section and find something that matches the feeling that I'm trying to create. My keywords when finding the songs for this particular film were cinematic, classical, and peaceful. Once I find the right song, I'll start shaping the footage around that feeling and use the music to guide the pacing and structure of the edit. This has worked really well for me when trying to pull more emotion out of the footage that I captured and try and mold that footage into a story. So if you're a filmmaker or a creator who cares about the craft of storytelling, you can try MusicBed free for 14 days using the link down below. The second piece that I wanted to talk about is color. Color has always been one of my favorite parts of the filmmaking process because it's one of the biggest ways that you can shape how a viewer feels when watching a film. And honestly, the color that I experienced in Japan was one of the things that inspired me most to make this film. When I got home from Japan and started putting together some of these images, I was really struck by how unique the palette felt there. From the soft muted tones around Mount Fuji to the vibrant contrast and energy of Tokyo, every part of this trip had its own visual identity. So I was really excited to bring this footage into DaVinci Resolve and use my Endura grade power grades to help shape the look and feel of this footage. For almost the entire project, I used the Vintage Vision power grade as my base look, applied over S-Log3 footage shot on the Sony FX3. From there, I actually didn't need to make too many adjustments. One of the things that I love most about these power grades that I created is that they really are a one-click solution. And all you really need to do is add some elements from the film toolkit and tool around with the primary adjustments a little bit, and you can create a really, really beautiful final look. Most of the time, I'm just doing tiny adjustments with the primary color wheels, lifting the shadows slightly, balancing exposure, and bringing back some saturation to help the colors feel a little more alive. I've been using Endura grade power grades on all my YouTube videos since last year, and they've honestly become a huge part of my workflow as a whole. They give me this consistent starting point while still leaving enough room to shape the footage around the story that I'm trying to tell. So if you're interested in checking out the Endura grade power grades or my Enduratone LUTs, which are a similar look but in LUT format, or just want to support this channel, you can head to the Endura grade website in the link in my bio. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and for watching these videos. I really, really appreciate it and it just means the world. And I'll see you guys soon.